Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Joy of Puzzles. Today we have our second appearance, our guest appearance of Shadow the Puzzle Pup. She'll be up on the screen in just a moment. So before I get into any sort of reviews or talking about the strategy of this puzzle, I thought I would introduce her. She'll show up in the little insert in the upper right hand corner and on the puzzle bed itself. Here she is. She is a 5-year-old Yorkie Poo. Very good dog. She loves to participate in the puzzle. She comes downstairs all the time and wants the attention of whoever is not paying attention to her, like every dog. She does make another guest appearance at the end of the video, so please stick around at the very least just to see Shadow. And I know I always look forward to her visits during these sessions. Bye, Shadow. She'll be back. Don't you guys worry. Alright, on to the puzzle. Well, this puzzle is definitely not one of my favorite puzzles. I pretty much remembered sooner in this build than we are now that this was not a fun puzzle to build. And I'll get into the reasons why that was in a couple minutes during the review portion. But let's talk about the puzzle itself. So this puzzle was a souvenir. I'm pretty sure I bought this when I was a kid, visiting a city in Holland called Alkmaar. It's a lot like going to Virginia, Williamsburg, or the Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts. There are people here dedicated to reenacting a much older time in history. This is called the cheese market, or the Kaas market, and what these folks are doing are, and still doing, I shouldn't say just simulating, they are selling giant wheels of cheese. Very exciting for all the Dutch people out there. And it is a active market. The folks that come here represent large government agencies, restaurants, hotels, other distributors, and they all come here and bid on cheese. Not quite as exciting as a cattle market, but right up there. So, this puzzle was never really intended as a, hey, that's a really beautiful picture, let's go build it. This was much more of, well, we're here, what do you want for a souvenir? Hey, I like puzzles, let's buy this puzzle. As a result, I don't know who made this puzzle. There's just simply no information. I don't even see a date on the box, I should say box. That little round lid at the top of the puzzle video there is the entirety of the box. So it was very much a bunch of guesswork. I'm pretty sure I bought this myself back in the very early 80s when we were there, but there is a chance it was given to me as a gift, as a souvenir from a subsequent trip by my parents. Needless to say, I've had this puzzle a long time, and I'm pretty sure I only built it one other time before this because, like I said at the beginning, not my favorite puzzle. Strategy. The picture is lacking. I only get about probably 60% of the actual image on that little lid. So you got to go with the big obvious things. And the first is the cheese. Lo and behold, the giant yellow objects on the bottom. That is pretty much easy to build, and then the ground surface itself with the shadows kind of goes with that naturally. And then it's the folks in the provisional costumes, the bright white with the decorative hat. Those were the next easy targets to build, so that's what I did next. My thought, as you see me pulling out pieces, is that I would be able to build the tree line and the house line with the sky. Those colors tend to be distinctive. The contrast makes it easy to find. And then after that it got pretty tough. And we'll talk about that a little later in the build. This puzzle took much longer than it should have. It is 1,000 pieces, which is fine, but in my experience a 1,000-piece puzzle is about 8 hours, 8.5, somewhere in that range would be a normal 1,000-piece puzzle. This one was 10, and at the end, it's a brutal hunt and peck method to get all the all the pieces in place. Very tedious. Again, I had to break it up into probably 6 sessions at the end. Very unlike me, I tend to marathon through these things, but it was a bit of a grind. So let's review the puzzle. The first thing I like to talk about is the paperboard. So this is the actual quality of the material that the puzzle is printed on. How thick it is, how the pieces feel if you do put a piece in the wrong spot. Do you feel like the little tabs are going to break off? Is it durable? So this one is average. It's a 3. In that respect, it is perfectly acceptable. Most puzzles should be like this. There is a bit of a nice glossy finish on them, so it's robust enough, easy to build. After that comes the cut quality. Well, this one I'm giving it a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. There are many pieces that, by eye, perfect. Looks like they went in, but I could tell moments later that they were not right and had to pull them out and had to readjust and spin them around. As you see at the top here, I didn't even finish building the border, which is very unlike me, because those blue pieces, the cut quality is so poor that most of the pieces fit with other pieces, or at least it feels that way. It's not definitive that this is where the piece goes. You'll see me rebuild the top border a couple times actually, and grind through how the pieces fit together. This category is difficulty. This one I'm going to rank high, and not for a good reason. I'm giving this a 4. It's harder than it should be, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of the picture missing. Like I said, I'm probably only have about 60% of the image available to me, so you're building the outer extremities blind. And then at the end, there is so much portions of the puzzle that are just dark with specks of green in them that you have to just grind it out. Hunt and peck, hunt and peck, hunt and peck until it's finally done. And not enjoyable. So difficulty-wise, it's a 4. And frankly, it shouldn't be. If the cut quality was better and I had a full picture, this would be a 3 and a much more enjoyable puzzle, but it's simply not. Frameability. Would I ever seal this puzzle, hang it up the wall, what I wanted as a poster? The answer is a definitive no. I would give this a 1. The only reason you would ever want this is if you are from this town, a lovely little town, or if you were somehow in this picture, or a relative was. But no one wants this picture of Holland hanging in their house. If you want a picture of Holland, you want a windmill, you want tulips, you want canal boats, you want the city of Amsterdam. You don't want a bunch of guys hauling around cheese. My memories are fond of going there. Enjoyed it, especially the street food. All great. It was an exciting little trip, a day trip from Amsterdam on the Cheese Express, as the train was called. But not a poster, not a picture, not something that someone without a direct interest in it would probably hang. You give this to your kid and he unrolls it on a birthday in the morning, and says, "What is this of? Why did I get this?" So this is definitely a 1. Overall, I'm going to give this a 2. Between the puzzle picture not being complete, the cut quality of the pieces, and frankly the nature of the picture, its frameability, this is a 2. And I will never build this again. It will go into storage, and the last time anyone will ever see it is on this video. some other strategy points when dealing with a difficult puzzle. You obviously group the like pieces, right? And you're looking for extremes in the colors, boundaries and borders and things to give you some sort of guidance instead of blindly pecking away at it. And that was the hardest part of this because the picture is so tiny and so uninformative that when it came to dealing with the trees, it was brutal. Again, purely hunt and peck. And here we are this late in the build, and I haven't finished the border or the sky. Soon I will shift gears and work on just that portion. And even here I had to make several attempts at finishing the border because the pieces just don't fit well. And you notice it when you start fitting in other pieces that have two edges defined. So it makes it much easier to identify the piece, and instead you realize, there must be something wrong here. You have to break this down, put these pieces in here, and start hunting by shape. This is like building a puzzle with no picture almost, these parts, because it's purely by eye, match the shape. Not fun. Not how I want to spend an afternoon. It doesn't feel rewarding. It feels like almost like a job. And I was sorry the moment I opened this puzzle again and realized that the puzzle it was. I'm like, oh, I do remember this. Good grief. One other note, at the end here, Shadow returns. It's wonderful. She saves the day. She gets us over the hump of this monotony, and always glad to have Shadow show up. Yep, she's very curious about the camera, and soon I'll let her start doing the reviews instead of me. I think her opinion is something everyone would love to hear. Alright, bye again, Shadow. Good seeing you. She'll be sure to visit other puzzles in the future. I'll make sure I give her credit so that you can find the puzzles that have Shadow's appearance in them. This painful hunt and peck method at the end here is exactly why it took 10 hours. Those last 3 or 4 hours were just tedious, monotonous. You'll see pieces installed, removed, and then attacked again. Normally, the sky is one of the last things you build in a puzzle because if it's a photograph, it tends to be a single shade of blue and challenging, to say the least. Well, that was actually easier than dealing with these trees because once you got past the outer fringes where there was some materials you could see through, hints of the building, hints of the structures behind it, it became the same thing. Hunt and peck. I'm not a person that ever looks for an individual piece. I think that's a mistake when building a puzzle. You go crazy looking for that one piece. But you see points in this puzzle where I have literally sorted every piece by their shape and have ground through, and then be very frustrated to realize the piece wasn't in the box because I had placed it on the puzzle somewhere else thinking it was the right piece, only to realize later that, oh, not only did I not have it in the box, I had already thought I'd put it in the right spot, and now I have to backtrack yet again. Just back to the grind of this. Literally every piece sorted by shape and style to fit, and it is my absolute least favorite thing to do. This hunt and peck for a certain piece, and it's just not something I would ever recommend. I have built puzzles that are one color, and Yeah, they're challenging, and sure, when they're done, you feel like, oh boy, I did it. But at the same time, it's kind of silly. You could build any puzzle with one color. Just flip one over, you know. So don't go out and buy yourself something like Purple Badness or some other plain thing. If you really want to do it, you can work your way up in size by taking the puzzle pieces, flipping them all over to the paper side, and work on it that way. I don't recommend it. Even on the most boring day, that's not that exciting. But here we are at the end, so if you liked the video, go ahead and hit the old like button. I appreciate it, and I look forward to sharing another puzzle with you in the future. Thanks again, and thanks for watching The Joy of Puzzles.